I think I'm going to use two highlighters for this one, obviously just to make sure, hey, we're in land transfer tax territory, but also that this is only a one-time cost, okay? I will ask you down the road to maybe give me one or two examples of one-time costs and then maybe a bunch of examples of ongoing, right? They keep on happening. This can also be called, so let's go AKA, right? AKA closing cost. It's the same thing, one time or closing. You need to pay that when you close the deal, right? When you close the deal, this is a thing, guys. I'm going to show you how to exactly calculate how much land transfer tax you would pay when you buy a house, okay? Land transfer tax, the name says it all. It's the tax you pay for transferring, right? The Manitoba Titles Office, you pay this tax at the time the title of your home is registered, right? So when they transfer it from somebody else's name to yours. It's paid when the owner of the property changes, right? When the owner of the property changes, that's when this happens. So I'll tell you something. For my first house, my father-in-law co-signed for me because we didn't have enough money. So he co-signed, so then they approved. But when you want to take his name off of the title, you need to pay the land transfer tax again. So you got to know that. Otherwise, it's a lot of money. You don't pay the entire amount, you pay half of it if it's just two owners, right? The Manitoba government collects this as revenue, and the lawyer hired to do the transaction will ensure that this money gets transferred to the property. Home buyers need to be aware of this cost. It's a one-time large cost required. You cannot get away without paying this. The first 200,000, guys, it's taxed according to a scale. Here's the scale. And anything over 200,000 is taxed 2%. Okay? So there's a certain breakdown of the first 200,000, and anything over is just a flat 2%. Okay. This is a very outdated chart, but it is the one that the government is using to this day. Okay. So for the first $30,000 of property, good luck, right? You don't find anything like that anymore. 0% land transfer tax. So 15,000, 16,000, 29,999, you pay zero. So let's just put a zero there as a decimal. On the next $60,000 worth of property, you pay 0.5%. If you divide that by 100, you got to make sure. Some students just do that in their heads and then they miss that it's 0.005. So you got to watch out for that. On the next $60,000, you pay 1% land transfer tax. It keeps building, by the way. Okay, so it goes up by 0.5% every bracket. The next 50,000, you pay 1.5%. So that's 0.015. Okay. Any amounts in excess of 200,000 is just 2%. Okay. And I will also make a note. I made a note for myself here to tell you, and we're going to use that space next here. Okay. So land transfer tax, LTT, right, is based on the purchase price. The purchase price. That's very important. I'm going to underline purchase price. So let's do an example here. Let's say there's a home and you buy it for $300,000. So that's why the government loves it when you overbid as well, because they charge you on what you paid. So if you go 80,000 over, they're getting more taxes as well. Let's say your home is 300,000. You saved up a down payment of $50,000, let's say. Okay. That means that your mortgage would be calculated based on this minus that, right? It would be based on the 250,000 there. We can actually put a line here and go minus, right? So your payment is based on this, right? The payment is based on that, but the land transfer tax is based on that, okay? So there will be questions down the road where they mix, right? Like you need to find the payment, but you also need to find the land transfer tax. And the land transfer tax is always based on the original amount that you paid, okay? The down payment does not matter when you do land transfer tax questions. Okay. Here is another, this is my version of it. This is what they give you. This is what I give you in a linear scale, okay? So you can use either one of these on your study sheet. So I'll just go 0.005, 0.01, 0.015, right? I'll put the decimals on top and just tell myself that 2% is 0.02. And always note, I will do this. This amounts to 200,000, 200K, right? So the scale breaks the first $200,000 of your home that you're purchasing. It's broken down by this scale. Anything over 200,000 is just a flat 2%. I know I'm repeating myself, but I need to do that, I think, for it to sink in. Okay. So we'll calculate the exact amount you would be owing the government under each circumstance is going to be the exact amount you can expect to pay. So here it is. I'm going to have that table that I just gave you there. I'm going to reference these numbers are going to show up on my calculation here. So write this down. So 385,000, I start with the amount. I don't care if there's a down payment. I go to what the worth is of the home. I go minus $30,000. So I pick the first. That I'm going to conclude that I'm not paying any taxes on that. That's it, 30,000. Subtract, go 385 minus 30,000. That's 355,000. I used 4 different highlighters for this one, so I'm just going to do it for this one example. That 30,000 is right there. That's where I got that number from. The next on the list is 60,000. Can I subtract 60,000 from this? Absolutely, right? There's lots of money left. So I go minus 60,000. Here you have to watch out. It's not $0. What is it? 0.5%. So I go times 0.005. And I will leave that there for now. I'm not going to calculate that just yet. Subtract it here. Just focus on this right now, and then we'll do that later. 355 minus 60,000 is 295,000. Okay. And then you ask yourself, can I keep subtracting from this list? And the answer is yes, I have 295,000. So this 60,000 here is right there. That's where I got that from. Next is another 60,000. I'm going to take that here, subtract. And there I pay 1%. So I'm just going to go times 0.01. And I know some of you are going to find that shortcut afterwards. You might see a pattern. You can go for it. Like this is just fail safe. This works every single time. And what did I use for that one? I used pink. So the 60,000 here is where I got this from. Subtract it. That's 235,000 left. The next number on this list is 50,000, right? So we go minus 50,000 because I can. There will be instances where you cannot subtract anymore, and that's where things change a little bit. On that one, I pay 1.5%. See this? 1.5%. So I go times 0.15. You subtract it, and you get 185,000. And I used, I'm just using the regular highlighter I've been using this whole time. Sorry, I'm just going to go, this is 50,000. I got that right there. So in this case, I went through the entire scale. And I'm still there's still some left. Right? This is left. So that gets taxed 2%. So I'm going to just say left over. Right? Just going to say above 200,000. I'm just going to go 200K. I hope you're okay with that. So that's what the 185 is saying. If this is above the 200,000 scale that the government uses, so this gets taxed 2%. And notice that I'm leaving this blank because these are the amounts that I'm going to add up at the end. That's going to be my land transfer tax. So you grab your calculator. Some of these you will memorize after a while. But 60,000 times 0.005 is 300 bucks. Okay, so you pay 300 bucks for sure. We go to the next one, 60,000 times 0.01. I'm just going to tell you that that's 600 bucks. Right? 1 times 0.01 times 60,000, $600. Then you take the 50,000 here times 0.015. That's $750. You pay $750 here. Then you take the 185, you multiply that by 2%. Yes, that's right. You're seeing it right. It's not, I'm not making this up. $3,700. That is usually the more expensive your house, that chunk that goes over 200,000 is going to be by far the biggest amount. And so land transfer tax is going to be 300 plus 600 plus 750 plus 3,700. Sorry, let me zoom out a bit. That gives me a total of, if you add this up, 5,350. So that's how much you're to register your home. And your lawyer gets this money from you, and then your lawyer transfers it to the Manitoba Land Titles Office. So you can just imagine, I don't know how it works with the $1 million homes you win, when you win that HSC lottery. I feel like you're gonna have to pay the land transfer tax on a $1 million home. So just imagine how much money that will be. Okay. Okay, one thing here I want you to observe. If you are going over 200,000, you are guaranteed paying these three numbers here. So I will, if you're paying attention, it saves you a lot of work. Otherwise, you have to do this every single time. So this is 1650. Remember that number. Right? So you would pay, if a house is exactly $200,000, you would pay the 1650. If it's over, you pay 1650 plus 2% of what you go over. So I would say this, for now, maybe just stick to this method. And once you're comfortable with that, then you start making your own kind of system, okay? But the 1650, I'm just gonna have it there for now, just so you know. How about we also do that here? 1650 is that magic number. This is what I mean by that. So let's say you're looking around for houses and you find one for 450 grand. This is what I would do. I'd take 450,000. I'd take away 200,000 from it. Right? So I'm going to say, okay, I'll pay 2% on that plus 1650. So you'd be paying 6,650 on land transfer. Okay. So I take away 200,000 on the price I see, times that by 2%, then add the 1650 at the end. So go to page 62 here. I'll do one more that doesn't go over 200K. This one does not. So you gotta be, if you think like, oh, I got it, I'm done, right? Don't say that just yet, okay? You have to see at least one more example before you make your own conclusions. So let's go to 62 here. And I will keep bombarding you with these questions until you're pretty good at it. So at first you might not like them a whole lot, but you'll be all right. So I'm just gonna say this, add this maybe to your study sheet, this bar, make a small version of it, and make sure you have the decimals written somewhere. So you don't, it's quicker, and then you just go and multiply. You don't have to like figure out what that would be as a decimal. So if you're stressed on the test, you don't have to make that small mistake there. Example 2 on 62. Calculate the land transfer, right? So that's LTT, right? The land transfer tax on a house worth $135,000. You might laugh at that, but my brother-in-law bought a house outside the city in rural Manitoba, so like 3 hours from here, close to Brandon, for $120,000. It's a nice house. Well, it's not like, it still needs some rentals. It needs some TLC, right? But 120,000, that's a pretty cheap house, right? So he's laughing at my payments probably right now. Let's figure out the land transfer tax on this house. So you take the 135, okay? You subtract, so you just follow this staircase basically. Take away the 30,000. You pay 0 on that. So just make sure you make a note. You know that the first 30,000 pay no taxes. You are left with 105,000. Go to the next number on the list, 60K, right? Take away 60K. And remember, that bracket, you're in this bracket, right? It pays 0.5%, which is 0.005 as a decimal. Anybody remember that number? $300, right? I don't know if you remember that, but you can just type it in and just, you will get $300 there. And here's where it gets tricky. Okay? 105 minus 60,000, you're left with 45,000. You would want to go to the next number here and subtract the 60,000 from it, but you can't. But you are in this bracket. You understand that? You are here right now. So you just take what's left over and multiply it by the percentage that you're in, which is 1%. And I can already tell you that this is going to be $450, right? That's it. You're done. That's it. You're not going past the third level in that staircase, right? So you go land transfer tax. You're almost there, not quite. It's 300 plus 450, and that is $750. Another benefit of buying a cheaper home, right? You're only paying, in this case, $750, which is a lot less. Right? And this is the exact amount. So you can calculate that. If you're looking for a house in a price range, you're like, okay, I need another $6,000 for my land transfer tax. Right? Oh, okay. I talked too much. You want to try example 3 before we leave? Just see if you can figure that one out. I'll give you the answer. You got to give me a little bit of time. I just need to calculate that real quick. That's $2,150.